Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us again. I am Katie Bateman, the Content Director at She Can Code, and today we are going to be discussing UX design. Now, for those who don't know, a UX designer or user experience designer focuses on the end experience for digital users. Sounds simple, but we know it's not. So I've got the highly experienced Rachel Armstrong with me today, who is the design studio partner for Globant in the UK, and she's going to help explain what UX design actually entails. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Can you start off by telling us a bit about yourself and your background, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, unfortunately, it's been quite a few years. So I first got into kind of design broadly. Back then, there wasn't so much digital design at university. So I went and did industrial design and studied that, which actually was a great foundation because it really does kind of laterally go across all the different aspects of the design process in a physical way, which is transferable to digital. I got my first job at Nestle, and I used to work in the States. So I lived out there for a couple of years, which was amazing. First job in America, who can say no?
Yes.
I basically designed packaging, which was amazing. You know, it was really fun. And I was there for a couple of years. I then transferred to Switzerland. So completely different culture, different environment, stayed there for a number of years as well. And then I decided that I wanted to go kind of consultancy world rather than corporate. So I moved to a consultancy in Bristol, lots of medical research, lots of different medical products and things. It was a really different kind of remit to kind of designing packaging, or essentially rubbish at the end of the day. And then I was there for a number of years and then decided to get more into kind of technology. So I moved to Samsung, and I was in Samsung for about 5 years, and really looked at all the digital aspects of usability and UX across mobile phones, all the way through to domestic appliances. And then I moved to Globant, where I am now. And it's an amazing company. We're pretty big, and really combining kind of not just technology, but really design and innovation to transform products and services for our clients. So work with all different verticals, and have been there for, gosh, it's coming on to about 6 years now.
Wow.
So yeah, I've been there a long time.
Yeah. Oh, well, quite a story. You've been around the world by the sounds of it. So
Yeah, probably more than once, actually.
Yeah. and you moved into technology, obviously. Was there something about it? Was it Samsung, or had you heard from somebody else? It's a career in tech is for you.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting time because thinking back, it was really, instead of the actual physical product being the differentiator. So, if you just take phones, for example, many years ago, it was the actual kind of physical phone that, was different. So lots of people had different types of phones, and it was all about the look and feel of the object. And at that time, iPhone and Apple was just coming out, with their new iPhones. And really, there was a huge change in digital where, your own personality was on the same physical product. So it was about the interface. And that's really what kind of got me into going to Samsung. It was a real big change. Now it was about, your personality being through, software, through the apps you use, through the websites you go to, through your social media. So it was less about the kind of physical aspect of design and really about the digital, which actually lends itself to technology. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I decided to make that shift.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I was trying to think there how you went from packaging, and then
I've been around. It's for sure.
Yeah, a very interesting story. So let's discuss a little bit about UX design today. We have lots of ladies in our community that are very curious about it. So can you explain what is UX and why is it important?
So UX design is, firstly, I'm extremely passionate about it because, whether it's you or your family or your friends or anybody that you see in the street, everybody has an experience with a service or a product. So UX design is really about ensuring that all of those touch points and interactions that you have with anything is, you know, optimal. And really it's about designing that. So it's designing the experience that you have, whether it's, you know, going to open a bank account or checking your you know, your bank balance on your app, to going on to Netflix and choosing what movie to watch tonight, to doing your online shopping. Anything that you do in life is around a user journey. And really what we do is we actually ensure that we design that. So it's also really emotive as well, right? Everything that you buy and everything you interact with is really emotive. So it's not just designing the best route to do something, it's also creating that experience. So you want to go back and you want to reuse that again and use it in your daily life. So, you know, it's really important. And it's also important to make sure that everybody can use things as well. So, you know, designing for everyone's kind of, from everyone's perspective and everyone's needs, it's a really important kind of factor in anything that you kind of come into touch with in your daily life.
Yes, and as you mentioned, that feeling of whether or not you go back and use something again, and the frustration when something doesn't work, or, you know,
absolutely,
yeah, you just cannot figure it out, and you're sort of thinking, is it just me? And as you say, you know, you just won't go back, and businesses lose customers as a, you know, something that has been designed incredibly badly.
Absolutely, yeah.
And for the ladies wondering about a career in UX, how do you get into UX? I mean, your career journey was quite unique, so.
Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can get into UX. There's, you know, obviously you can go through the natural path of going to university and doing, you know, specific courses and degrees in order to get into it. But there's lots and lots of like vocational things that you can do as well. Really, we have, you know, I have a really big team, and within my team, there's people from all walks of life. You don't necessarily have had to go through, you know, a very rigorous career path in order to come to UX. You know, some of my team, one of them was in a band, for example, traveling the world for, you know, a number of years. And then he decided that, you know, he wanted to get into design. And, you know, there's lots of academy programs as well that you can join and kind of learn through, and then kind of, you know, stay within that company. So really it's about a passion, I suppose, to making a difference, and also having some kind of creative flair. You know, there's lots of different aspects and roles to UX design as well. You know, you go all the way from being a strategist, so really understanding, you know, what's the proposition, what is the service, what is the product that we're helping to create, and helping clients to come to the kind of brief as well. You know, you think that all clients know exactly what it is that they want to build in terms of a digital product or how to transform, but actually, you know, you need to go in and challenge that and understand the real reason and the rationale behind why we're actually creating a digital product. So strategy is really important. We have design strategists, we have design researchers. Understanding the customer is key throughout the entire UX process. At every point, you need to be customer centric. So you need to understand what customers, you know, how they're going to interact with the product, how they're going to, you know, what they're feeling about it. So ensuring that research is there throughout the process is really key. So UX research. You've got a different type of person, which is, you know, a UI. So really kind of detailed, looking at the interfaces, looking at, you know, all the finite detail of the buttons and the different menu styles and how you interact with it that way, and the real usability around it. You've got service designers that look at the whole service, you know, from end to end, and make sure that all of the touch points kind of are seamless throughout the experience. And then you've got visual designers as well. So they're really looking at the, you know, the core look and feel, you know, making sure that the brand is echoed through the interface that's been created, making sure that it's, you know, attractive to all customers. And so, you know, there's lots and lots of aspects to it. So depending on kind of, you know, the type of person you are, you know, you can get into UX a number of different routes.
And to be honest, you just named so many roles in UX there that I hadn't even heard of or thought of. Is that something that you hear a lot, that people, they have that stereotypical view, if I'm in UX, I have to be a designer and that is it, you know, there's no other role for me?
Yeah, and I think that there's the process for UX does include all of those roles. And I think that, especially in consultancy, when you're in a design team, when you join a UX team, like at Globant, if you're going to work in one, you get assigned in a pod, we call it. And essentially that's a combination of all the different roles I've just described. And so you work hand in hand with those different people throughout the entirety of the project. So you get to, if you have a specialism, for example, in UX research, it's really important that you understand the whole process and all the different roles and what's all the roles and responsibilities to get to the end product and design, because you have to be a lateral thinker. You need to understand the whole process in order to succeed. So what's really nice about UX is that you're not kind of pigeonholed into, just doing one thing. You get to work with lots of people with lots of different skill sets, all going to the same kind of ending, the same solution. And you can learn a lot along the way. And you can also kind of, dabble in the different parts of UX as well. I have some of my team who, on one project, they'll be more focused on UX research, but in another project, they'll be more focused on, the service design aspect of it. So you can be quite flexible as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned as well, you touched upon the process. Can you tell us a little bit about the process and the methodology in carrying out projects? Can you kind of give us an idea of what a project would look like?
Yeah, so client briefs come in at different stages across, a project, and they come at different scale, right? So you can have a small project, which is to, iterate something that's already existing. Maybe they aren't attracting enough customers, so they need to kind of reskin a website, or it might be that they have a new product or service that they want to integrate into it. So that would be like more of a smaller project. And then you've got bigger projects as well, where companies come to us with, an idea and a proposition of what they want to create. So we help them formalize what that proposition is and test it with customers, make sure it's something that they actually want in their lives. And then go through, a full process to actually work with developers as well. So, design and development working hand in hand to actually launch that MVP, that minimal viable product at the end. So, we have a huge kind of scale of different projects. Typically, they always start with a discovery process. So what this means is really to understand the customer. That is key. Where's the customer at? We tend to create what we call an as is and a to be journey. So the as is the landscape of where the customer is now, where the pain points are, what the interactions are across that journey, what's working well, what's working not, where are the gaps. And we look at all of those customer journeys, and then we do the to be, which is the kind of aspirational view. Where do we want this product or this service to go? What could it look like in the future? How can we maintain that there's repeat business from those customers and interest to come back to, that product? So we create the as is and the to be. That gives us a really good starting point to understand, what's the North Star? Where do we need to get to? So once we've done a huge discovery piece, and this is also understanding our customers, this can be through personas or mindsets or segmentations as well. So they're very different tools of how you can look at who your customer base is. So once we've understood the customer, we understand the landscape, we can then get into design. And, this can also be through ideation. So we do a lot of kind of co-creation, both with customers, but also with the client as well, to get them engaged, because we're not just designing for customers and end users. We also have that business, right? So we need to understand that we can optimize and create efficiency with the digital solution that we're creating for the business. So we need to kind of have that hat on as well. So we do lots of ideation, lots of co-creation, and we work in sprint cycles. So they could be usually about 2 weeks every sprint cycle, where we'll look at a separate feature or functionality of that website, and we'll design it and we'll test it with customers. We'll learn from that testing, and then we'll iterate the design again, and then keep doing that like kind of circular test and learn iteration until we've got something that customers really like and they find useful and the business loves. And then that will end up being the MVP, which is the point where we can go to launch in alpha and beta. And then, that test and learn doesn't end, but essentially that is the kind of, I suppose, upfront process of UX design.
I mean, it sounds like a role where you must work with so many people across so many teams. It doesn't strike me as the type of role where you work from home and you don't talk to anybody and you do your little part of a project and that's it, and you send it back. It sounds like if you're on your team, you're very creative, you collaborate with lots of people. I mean, I'm sold. It sounds like a really fun project to work on, so to be honest.
Yeah, it is. But we've gone through different times, haven't we, through the pandemic and everything. So, hybrid working is a fact of life now. And yes, it is very collaborative, and we do work in teams, and we all work together on every part of that process. However, bits can work from home. There's a lot of tools out there, and also you need to think, our clients are also working remotely as well these days. So actually, to get everybody in the same room to ideate or to do a kickoff or to do a review session on the design that we've created, we can do that remotely. We have the tools now to be able to do that. So I would say that it's very much a kind of team role and team job, but it can be done kind of hybrid as well. It's not going back to 9 to 5. I mean, obviously there's a few things that are more amazing and more fun when you're in person, so lots of the working sessions and workshops and things that happen is always fun to do it in person. And also it opens up to new tools as well, like one of my favorites being Lego Serious Play, where you basically come up with ideas and solutions or pain points for something when you're in that design process, but you build it out of Lego. A lot of people will kind of have a different way of being able to express visually and actually build something, rather than try and draw it on a post-it note or try and verbalize it or write a narrative around what that idea is. Sometimes actually building it physically is also a way to express. So things like that in person are really great.
Yes, I'm supposed to take note as well of the different ways that people work, because I've been in one of those meetings where it's ideation, it's supposed to be really good fun, but I'm one of those that is standing there and thinking, I'm just trying to think of a word to write on this post-it note, so I've got something to stick on the wall, and I'm not actually moving forward in my mind. I'm just thinking, I don't want to be the only one that hasn't got a word to put on the wall, but it doesn't actually help the projects, because that's just not the way that I work. But it suits sort of a couple of other people in the room. But I think Lego, would have.
Yeah, it's a fantastic tool. Yeah, and we use it with clients a lot as well, and they always love it. Getting the C-suites of a wealth management bank to build out what they think that their future is in a digital sense for transformation for the future is always a good one.
And you mentioned tools there. Are there any other tools that are useful in the process? Obviously, you mentioned ideation tools there.
Yeah, I think, I've mentioned, creating user journeys. So not all tools need to be software either, right? So you've got tools like user journey mapping, which is, completely critical, looking at which actually looks at each journey, each interaction, stage by stage of what the customer's actually doing. So, that tool is one that we use all the time. Empathy mapping. It's really important not to design because you're just a designer and you're designing for yourself. We have to think of our customers. We have to think, what are they thinking? What are they feeling when they're interacting, when they're using this website, when they're going into the app, when they need to do something or buy something, or, or even just, for entertainment purposes, where they're, we work in gaming as well. How do they go into sign up for this game or whatever? So, empathy mapping is really interesting. What are people thinking and feeling at that point in time? Lots of prototyping. We use like Figma and Sketch. They're really great wireframing and interface tools. They're really collaborative as well, and they also have a really good component library. So a lot of the time you don't have to start from scratch. There's lots of like templates and things that you can use whilst designing an interface. We talked about remote, Miro or Mural, brilliant tools for doing ideation remotely with lots of different people. You can really imitate a physical ideation room with post-it notes and put visuals on there, and you can prep all your boards and everything. I basically use that every day for everything. Even if I'm having a meeting and want to help customers prioritize things, or clients to formulate their proposition or their business objectives, it's a really amazing tool to use. What else? The Adobe Creative Suite, probably couldn't live without that, for all the visual as well, being able to do all the story. I mean, storytelling is a big one. It's not just about creating the visual look and feel of the digital products, but also how you actually tell the story behind the design. And people need to know the context and the rationale behind why you've designed something. And so using these kind of creative visual tools are important to do that. And, we've talked about collaboration. I think my favorite's probably Slack. We always create a, different project and Slack groups so that we can talk to each other on a daily basis and pin things and send things to each other, whilst we're kind of remote as well. So they're kind of probably my big ones for sure.
And you mentioned a few different projects as well there. You said that you touch upon gaming. What type of projects do you work on, and is there one that you're most proud of?
Oh, wow. I've worked in probably every single industry, and I think that's one of the great things about UX. You get to work in retail, you get to work in gaming, we work in banking, we work in airlines, we work theme parks and entertainment, and also gaming. There's a huge amount of different verticals you can work on, and I've pretty much worked in everything during my career. So that's really fun, because you get to take learnings from, say, banking and then and take that into gaming, for example, or vice versa. So there's lots you can do there. I think one of my favorite and most meaningful projects or spaces to work in is in the public sector. I've done a lot of work for Transport for London back in the day, and more recently we've worked with the Metropolitan Police here in London, and we've actually transformed their policing. So we've actually created a kind of digital police force, if you like. So they came to us, and a lot of the work, the day-to-day with the frontline officers are very much paper heavy. They're filling out lots of forms, having to go back and fill those in. There's not really a platform for the public to also report crime. They have to go into a police station. So over the last number of years, we've helped the Met Police to become digital. So we've created online crime reporting. So anybody can go in and report a crime. We've given them different channels as well, which is really important to be able to report crime on. So, not all the time can you, as a victim of crime, have you got the ability to get on the phone and speak to someone. Now you can report things on your phone through Twitter, through social platforms, through our forums that we've designed. We changed the organization. They now have tablets as well, so they use those on a daily basis, and we help to create all of the applications on there to be able to do their day-to-day job more effectively. So, for example, even translation tools. So, if you look at London, where I live, for example, we're multicultural, there's lots of tourists, crime also happens to them, and being able to understand what they say and how to respond to them is really important. So, I think that's one of the ones that I'm most proud of, because we made a real difference, and, a personal difference. So and we've won amazing awards off it as well. It was a pleasure, and an amazing team and clients to work with.
Oh wow, yeah, it must be so important. Or the things that you just mentioned there for user experience. If people are already frustrated, they need an outlet where they can express themselves. Yeah, sounds really interesting. We're going to be running out of time soon. It's flying by. What tips can you give women specifically in joining the working world in general, but also in the UX world?
So I would get involved as much as you can, as I said, with all the different roles that are available within the UX world, if possible, and get some experience in it to really kind of find out where your passion lies and where your interests are and what you want to do going forward. We always look for people who are kind of consultative. So challenging, asking questions is really important as part to be a good UXer. So asking the why, 5 whys, why, and you get to the real answer. So I would be inquisitive, have that kind of consultative behavior. Presentation skills is key as well. Everything that you design, you want to be able to present yourself, right? You should have efficacy in your work and be really proud of it. And you have to explain design to a lot of clients, a lot of people. They're not necessarily specialists in it. They are specialists in their product or their service, but not in the remit of design. So being able to express why you've designed something the way you have has huge importance. So presentation skills and being able to communicate is key. I would network, go to lots of little events. There's local UX groups up and down the country, that serve a nice glass of wine, and you can go and discuss with everybody about all things UX and hear speakers. And that's a really nice way to meet like-minded people who are trying to enter that world. So I definitely suggesting that. Get a mentor as well. I also volunteer and mentor for some women in some kind of charity groups around getting women into technology and design. I think it's a great thing to do. You've got somebody to ask those kind of awkward questions to. You can work through how to get on the UX ladder, if you like. There will be people out there with lots and lots of experience, so take advantage of that and kind of sign up to get a mentor. And I think that having a really great portfolio, so not just a CV, but having a portfolio of your work, and it doesn't have to be products that have gone live or things that you've done in a previous job. You can do your own projects as well. I think that, thinking back to the beginning of my career when, I lacked experience of being in the workplace, I created my own design projects, so you can make up your own brief. And mainly employers want to see your thinking process, right? So it's not just about a portfolio of beautiful, shiny, nice brands and nice applications and websites that you've designed. It's about how you got there. It's about your thought process and what you did to be able to get to that end solution. And that's the thing that will stand you out from somebody else.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rachel. It's honestly, today, the questions that we see from our community about UX design, the ladies that are listening in are going to find today's interview invaluable. So thank you so much for talking with us today and joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. And I encourage all women to do it. It's really important when you design something that it is for everybody, and that also includes women. So, get involved, get out there, and do it. It's a great role to be in. And I'm always open to anyone who needs advice or help. You can find me on LinkedIn, and we're always looking for passionate people to join the team. So get in touch.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And to everybody listening, as always, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time.